The Dragon Beneath the Mountain. Chapter 1. The Sleeping Giant. The mountain had stood silent for centuries. To the villages spread across the valley, it was nothing more than a jagged scar against the horizon. Farmers grazed their cattle on its slopes. Children played near its rivers. And travelers often stopped to admire its enormous crater, believing they were looking at the skeleton of a dead volcano. They called it Kareth's Rest, a name spoken with reverence and sometimes fear. For the oldest among them remembered the stories passed down through blood and ash. Legends of a time before kingdoms, before maps, when gods themselves fought against a creature so powerful it threatened to burn the world. The story always ended the same. The beast was entombed within the mountain, buried under rock and divine fire, never to awaken. But legends have a way of becoming warnings. Chapter 2. The geologists arrive. A team of 5 arrived at Kareth's Rest on a warm summer morning. They were geologists drawn by a surge of seismic activity that puzzled the scientific community. Dr. Helena Voss, the leader, calm, determined, with a reputation for chasing mysteries. Miguel Alvarez, the youngest, full of energy, still believing every problem had a solution. Dr. Rajesh Singh, a volcanologist obsessed with pressure chambers and magma flows. Elena Petrova, a field researcher with a skeptic's tongue and a sharp wit. Thomas Hale, the technician, always behind the cameras and instruments, chronicling their discoveries. Their mission was simple: study the dormant volcano, collect data, and prove why the mountain was waking. But as their instruments picked up irregular heat signatures and rhythmic vibrations, doubts began to creep into their minds. Miguel joked nervously, "It's like the mountain has a heartbeat." Helena didn't laugh. Chapter 3. Whispers Beneath the Rock. Inside the crater, they descended into caverns carved by ancient eruptions. Strange symbols covered the stone. Spirals, claws, winged shapes etched into black basalt. The villagers warned them not to go deeper, but science silenced superstition. At night, the tremors grew worse. The ground shivered like something beneath it was clawing for freedom. And then came the sound. A roar. Faint, buried, but undeniable. The 5 stared at one another in horror. It wasn't seismic activity. It wasn't the earth. It was alive. Chapter 4. The Awakening. On the 3rd night, the mountain split apart. The ground cracked open, spilling rivers of fire down the slopes. A storm of ash blotted out the stars. Sirens blared from villages below as people fled, but the geologists stayed, transfixed in terror. From the crater rose something they had only seen in carvings and myths. A head vast and jagged, horns curling like spires of obsidian. Scales darker than midnight, each glowing with veins of molten lava. Wings unfolded, stretching wider than the mountain itself. The dragon of Kareth had awakened. Its roar shattered stone, toppled forests, and sent shockwaves through the sky. Chapter 5. Fire upon the world. The first breath incinerated an entire valley. Villages turned to ash in seconds. Trees vaporized, rivers boiled, and a cloud of fire rolled outward like a living tide. The dragon ascended into the night sky, a living storm. Fighter jets scrambled to intercept. Missiles streaked upward only to explode harmlessly against its scales. The beast retaliated with a single sweep of fire, turning steel and flesh alike into molten ruin. Cities far beyond the mountain felt the sky darken. Power grids collapsed. Panic spread like wildfire. Humanity's weapons were nothing but toys against a god reborn. And still, the creature hungered. Chapter 6. The Chamber of Truth. The geologists fled into the lower tunnels as the mountain collapsed around them. Deep inside, they stumbled upon a hidden chamber. Its walls were covered in carvings older than language. They showed gods battling the dragon, binding it beneath the earth with chains of fire and stone. Rajesh translated as best he could. Only fire can bind fire. Only sacrifice can quench the endless flame. Helena realized the truth. The dragon was not meant to be destroyed, only imprisoned. And now the prison had failed. They had awoken the apocalypse. Chapter 7. Humanity's fall above, the world fell apart. Skyscrapers burned like candles as the dragon's shadow crossed continents. Armies tried and failed. Cities became ruins. Entire nations vanished in days. The geologists, trapped between science and myth, argued desperately. Elena demanded escape, to survive, to hide. Miguel, trembling, begged to fight. Rajesh insisted that humanity could never stand against it. But Helena stood silent, her eyes fixed on the ancient carvings. She understood what the gods had done, and she knew what must be done again. Chapter 8. The Last Stand. They carried explosives into the heart of the volcano, the only place where fire was strong enough to bind the creature. The plan was madness, but hope was gone. As they set the charges, the dragon descended, drawn by their defiance. Its colossal head lowered into the cavern, molten fire dripping from its jaws. Its eyes, two burning suns, locked onto Helena. The others fled, screaming, but Helena stayed. She whispered, "If fire can bind fire, then let mine be enough." And with trembling hands she ignited the charges. Chapter 9. Silence after fire. The mountain exploded. Stone rained from the sky. Fire consumed fire. And for the first time since it had awakened, the dragon roared in pain. When the dust cleared, the crater was sealed, the beast buried once more beneath molten rock. Only silence remained. Helena was gone. The others barely escaped, their faces burned, their hearts broken. They had witnessed the return of a god, and the sacrifice of a woman who dared to stand against it. Epilogue. The heartbeat. Months later, the world began to rebuild. Cities rose again, though scars of fire marked the land forever. Governments called it a natural disaster, a super eruption. Few spoke of the dragon, but those who had been there knew the truth. And sometimes at night, when the wind was still and the sky was red, they swore they could feel it, deep beneath the mountain. A heartbeat, slow, patient, waiting. The dragon of Kareth was not gone, it was only sleeping. A heartbeat, slow, patient, waiting. The dragon of Kareth was not gone, it was only sleeping.